Just past the edge of our blue atmosphere, where the boundary of space begins, the sun sits in the dark. We rely on it for our survival, but it houses an invisible and poorly understood vulnerability. This chart shows a star's expected thermodynamic behavior. Moving from the core toward the surface, temperature steadily drops to 5,500 degrees Celsius. But suddenly, the temperature reverses course, spiking to 2 million degrees, an anomaly called the Coronal Heating Paradox. That anomaly is briefly visible from Earth during a total eclipse, appearing as a glowing halo of superheated plasma expanding outward into the void. This is the solar corona. This unresolved thermal imbalance is the sun's most critical vulnerability. It is the specific, fragile point of failure that will eventually trigger the end of the terrestrial timeline. If a nomadic black hole wanders close to our system, its extreme gravity begins to warp the physical structure of the sun's core. Under that immense gravitational shear, the twisted magnetic fields holding the corona together snap. The sudden release of energy forces the outer atmosphere's temperature to multiply by 100, reaching hundreds of millions of degrees. The star reacts by ejecting a superflare. The explosive yield of this eruption equates to 100 billion hydrogen bombs detonating simultaneously. In 1859, the Carrington event struck Earth, shorting out global telegraph wires. But data captured by the Kepler Space Telescope reveals that when stars lose their magnetic equilibrium, the resulting superflares are up to 1 million times more powerful than that 19th century strike. The immediate physical payload of this explosion is a coronal mass ejection. A dense cloud of magnetized plasma blasts outward at 3 million kilometers per hour, creating a cosmic tsunami aimed directly at the inner planets. With the payload en route, a chain reaction is set in motion. This incoming solar tsunami guarantees the systematic failure of Earth's defenses. High above the atmosphere sits our first line of defense, a massive, invisible magnetic barrier wrapping around the entire globe. This is the Magnetosphere. It is continuously generated by the friction and rotation of liquid iron churning deep within the Earth's core. When the vanguard of the superflare arrives, a blinding wave of intense X-rays and extreme ultraviolet radiation slams directly into this magnetic grid. The sheer density of the radiation permanently ionizes the upper atmosphere. The magnetic field lines are overloaded, snapping apart and dissolving straight into the vacuum of space. The primary armor is gone. There is no longer a buffer to prevent the physical solar plasma and cosmic radiation from pouring directly into our lower atmosphere. Down in the stratosphere, the planet relies on a secondary shield, a thin, delicately balanced layer of ozone gases, responsible for blocking lethal solar radiation. The incoming wave of dense solar protons crashes violently into the nitrogen and hydrogen molecules floating throughout this layer. The bombardment physically shatters these molecules. Raw atoms recombine into reactive compounds, hydroxyl and nitrogen oxide. These immediately bind to atmospheric ozone, breaking it apart. Within hours, the reaction accelerates globally, completely consuming and stripping away the ozone layer. Without this filtration, solar ultraviolet rays reach the surface at full intensity. Within seconds, radiation destroys the DNA sequences within living cells, rendering the planet's surface biologically sterile. On the surface, the deep blue oceans and expansive lakes are now sitting fully exposed to the raw vacuum and unfiltered heat of space. The permanent destruction of the atmosphere means the planet is now essentially sitting in a vacuum, which triggers the final phase of destruction. Since a liquid's boiling point is dictated by atmospheric pressure, water no longer needs to be heated to vaporize. Without the weight of the air pushing down on the surface, the physics of water change. The result is the Great Evaporation. Every ocean and river on the planet spontaneously boils, flashing into thick vapor that bleeds away into space. In a matter of days, the planet's hydrosphere vanishes. The fundamental biological foundation that allowed life to exist is erased. Viewed from orbit, the planet is unrecognizable. The swirling white clouds, the complex weather systems, and the vast oceans have all vanished. Earth is reduced to its bare geology, a completely dry, copper-toned expanse of dead rock, baking under constant radiation. It is an irreversible state. The vibrant blue marble becomes a terrestrial twin to the barren, ancient deserts of Mars. The most confusing mathematical anomaly burning in the outer layers of the Sun's atmosphere held the precise set of variables required to murder our world.